Well, after the mill burnt, was this not when the boys then spread it out?
Well, of course, some of them I believe were gone. I believe John was out before that on his own.
He'd gone west.
Yes, and my father was, of course, was on his place.
Well, that's quite a story in itself where the boys went. Did they, John went west first.
Well, I believe he went out on a harvest excursion and then went to travelled on to British Columbia or to the in the Crow's Nest Pass area. He got into lumber business there. He and a couple of other chaps bought up some timber land and built a sawmill and started their own lumber company. William Strong had went to he had went farther in school than the rest of them, had taken secondary school training. He was out in the west for a few years and had came back, and the time that the railroad was being built and a branch line in Saskatchewan. Well, John Strong got thinking about it. There was a chance for to sell lumber, so he sent a message to William for him and Uncle Joshua to go to this where this railroad was being built and get as far ahead as they could along it and start a lumber yard, and that they would supply them with lumber. Uncle William and Uncle Joshua headed out, and they decided on the town site of Asquith, which was at that time was 30 miles ahead of the steel. They bought some property there and started a lumber yard. And they hauled lumber from the steel to Asquith with 4-horse teams and built the town of Asquith.
Is that right? Yeah.
They at least supplied the lumber for it.
Yeah. At that time, then, Uncle William, Uncle Joshua were still back on the farm. Is that right?
Yes,
when he sent the word.
Yes, they were at the farm.
How would he do that?
I believe it was a telegram that he sent, and that was mailed in from. I'm not sure whether it was Rancho or just where it or just where it was from.
Well,
it was an urgent. But he sent it as an urgent message anyway.
Did he not start several business?
Yes, he did. That sawmill burned, and their lumber yard. At their lumber yard at the sawmill, and he later it left them practically broke, or when they got their covered their what bills they had. And they had a bunch of horses that they'd been using. So while the other fellows were away, his partners went someplace else on the trip, and he stayed to look after the horses. He got a chance to put them to work on a construction job. Yet he made a nice little stake while the other fellows were away getting the smoke out of their eyes.
This is Uncle John.
Yes. Don't think they ever came. They never moved back after that.
They never?
No. Not to Madawaska.
They carried on west?
Yes. Uncle Joshua went on to the coast, and he was in the lumber business there for a while on his own for quite a few years, and then he got into exporting lumber and to buying and selling lumber, and exporting it, most of it to Japan.
Neither one of them ever came back east again.
Well, William Strong came back during the Depression. He had been into several different businesses, but during the Depression he got wiped out, and he came back then and homesteaded in Northern Ontario.
Whereabouts?
I just forget where that was now, but it was up in up along with TNN, what was then known as the TNNO.
Yeah. And that's where he died, was up there. Then.
Yes.
What happened to Uncle John then after he made a stake with the horses?
Well, he went ahead and lumbering, and continued it as long as he lived.
In the West?
Yes. Now I'm getting ahead of myself. He went, I believe he had a few setbacks. At the time he was married, he came back here and married my aunt, Maggie Carson, and at that time he didn't have too much. After they were married, he went out on the harvest excursion and worked for a while to get money to bring her out.
Is that right?
And then went back into the Crow's Nest area and started lumbering again. I'm not sure just how, to what extent, but he lumbered there for many years.